everyone. Welcome to this event. It's called Building with Cursor. Congratulations if you made it in. It was actually very competitive. If we haven't met before, my name is Elizabeth Lin, and I run an online design school called Design is a Party, and I teach designers how to prototype with AI and also teach things like visual design as well. So today should be a lot of fun. We have some really amazing guests here from some really, really awesome companies. Rio, Jin, and Catherine representing Cursor, Notion, and Ramp. And so to kick this off, what we're going to do is we're going to have each of them kind of do a little demo of how they use Cursor and AI tools within their design team. And then we'll kind of dive into a panel discussion. And so if you have any questions, think about them along the way. We do have some like Notion mugs to give out for really good questions. So definitely keep thinking along the way. So to kick us off, we have Catherine. So let's give her a big round of applause.
Testing. Hi, everyone. It's so... Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Go ahead.
I'll go this way. It's really exciting to see everyone here. Let's hope this works. Okay, great. Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine, and I lead the employee experience and mobile platform teams at Ramp. Really exciting just to see everyone here. As I mentioned, it's just an exciting time for design in general because the landscape of how we build and all of our processes is changing every day, every second. And our team specifically has just really embraced this and just evolved throughout the past year since I've been here. So my role and my processes have changed, and so has our entire team. So I'm excited to walk you through how we use tools like Cursor to really expand and evolve our creativity. So before I get into the demos, I'll start with a question. Should designers code? The reason I ask is because Cursor has predominantly been known as a tool for engineers. It's something that has been used for quite a while, but since for designers specifically, has only really come into conversation in this past year. Early in my career, this is something I asked myself. I taught myself a little bit of HTML, CSS, JavaScript to create my first portfolio. I'm sure a lot of people have toyed with that. And then I quickly abandoned it as soon as I started my first job. It didn't feel like it was very relevant or necessary for me to invest in at the time until I came to Ramp. And then things changed. I remember the exact moment earlier this year in which I felt like things were changing quite significantly and for the better. It was March 2024 when my teammate George posted a loom on our Design Crits and Looms channel, just showing his process. He got 80% of a working prototype up in 15 minutes using 3 tools I'd never even heard of, Chat PRD, Whisper, and V0. This was the first foray into AI prototyping, and the response was instant. The first reaction really captured what everyone was thinking. Wow, AI is gonna take our jobs. But in reality, the response was overwhelmingly positive. People were excited, curious, and inspired. That week, I downloaded Cursor for the first time and tried building out my first prototype. So thank you, George. He's right there. This one video prompted a huge conversation within our team, and everything spread like wildfire. One after another, people started experimenting with Cursor and a bunch of different AI prototypes and posting them and helping the team really learn about their processes. It was just a great way to teach. Everyone chose a different tool that they were interested in, whether it was V0, Magic Patterns, Cursor, Figma Make, and was posting about it in real time. It was crazy because even people who'd been experienced in their careers for many, many years were learning for the first time how to use new tools. And one of the tools that really stood out was Cursor. And this is one that has continued to redefine the workflows and processes we have at Ramp. So taking it back to this comment from Tisha about how she thinks AI is going to take our jobs. I think it's really funny in hindsight because Tisha has been one of our biggest advocates for AI prototyping. She's tried every single tool under the sun. And it's just really inspiring just to see how her process has changed over the past year. Building out prototypes like this one, where she plugged it directly into a Notion database that houses all of our admin personas, so the very organized spender or the power spender, and really used it to stress test the different flows and interactions and designs to make sure that it would account for our different types of customers. She's also been great about putting these prototypes in front of our customers on a very regular basis. She's one of the most customer-centric people I've ever met. And it's been amazing to see how tools like Cursor have helped really strengthen that and gotten her closer to customers at a more frequent basis. Or examples like this, where Pavan built out this prototype, imagining how we could digitize the expense policy that admins are notoriously have a hard time editing, and having this be directly in Ramp. He inspired an entire team by building this, testing out interactions, edge cases, et cetera, and use this to really help define the entire roadmap for the rest of the year. The rest of the team and company could see, just through this alone, what a concept from just a straight concept into a demo in 3 weeks would look like, with constant iteration and feedback loops directly with customers. It was so inspiring. And in this example, Andy used Cursor to really think through what a conversational AI workflow could look like. Oh, I don't think the sound is on. Okay. Okay. Basically, I don't think the sound is connected. I should have tested that. So what's really interesting about this is if you can imagine testing out a conversational workflow in Figma, it's just not going to be realistic. You could manually script it yourself, and it's never going to feel that level of fidelity or realism that you would get just by having this actually hooked up to an agent and having the content be spit out in this way where it's non-deterministic. And so things like that are so important when you're testing out these like high fidelity prototypes and interactions just to get it right. And then another example that I'll show is how Aaron within our team used Cursor to create a prototype manager, exploring within our web repo using real data, exactly how to come up with various interaction patterns. And again, something like this, it would take forever in Figma, and you still would never get the fidelity that you needed to understand like what is actually working. But he was testing out 4 different types of interactions and moving through it in real time. He even deployed this so that anyone could test this in real time, which was amazing. And alongside all the people who are experimenting, we also have our design systems team who has been supporting us every step of the way. So Amber, a design engineering lead, created a lot of guidance for designers to get started from day one, and a sandbox that actually used our Ryu component library so that designers could prototype with higher fidelity. I'll kind of talk through in my demos a little bit of the differences. And then our engineering team has just been there, again, supporting us every step of the way as well, and teaching us how to actually put up PRs and merge to production. A lot of designers within the team are actually doing that and seeing their changes in real time. So whatever level you're at in terms of whether or not you know how to code or have any interest in it, there's something within our team to support you in that journey. Now I'm going to go into the real demos, so the live part. Exciting. Cool. So let's see. Amazing. I'm going to... This was the first prototype that I created in Cursor after being inspired by George. And you can see it looks a little bit wonky, but basically I was just trying to get the vibes. Correct. So basically I was working on this project where I was trying to consolidate around 20 table instances within Ramp. Imagine doing that in Figma. That would take forever, and you still wouldn't be able to get the interactions that you'd wanted. It looks a little bit like Ramp's design system because I painstakingly imported the different type styles and icons just because as a designer, I feel like it's, I don't know, at least I was kind of getting annoyed with the fact that it didn't look real, so I wanted to get to this level of fidelity. But I was able to just prototype different interactions, like for instance, being able to click into any object type and ask about that, or view insights around this. Obviously, this doesn't look the nicest, but again, it's just for vibes. Or imagining like being able to actually click and zoom into a receipt. All of this was done within an evening's worth of work. And again, just vibes, just for fun. It didn't end up really going anywhere. It's more just for me to actually like play and just try out this new tool. Not the right branch. Okay. So next I will go into our, wrong one, playground. Sakura, which is what I mentioned before that Amber, our design engineering lead, created, which is a sandbox for anyone to be able to prototype but use the actual Ryu components. And so here, that should just work. Cool. So what the sandbox is just a bunch of templates that are preloaded, and you can start to see that like the typography is right. These are our real components. These pull from our design system, and it's exciting because it's just like a little bit closer to the level of fidelity that you would want as a designer, and closer to Figma. Some of the templates include like a blank full page, or an instance of home, or an inbox, and just you can start from any of these as just like a boilerplate just to house your designs. And so in this example, basically what I was trying to do was just have fun with our ramp card and imagine what it would look like to actually be able to personalize it. Right now, there is like a white card and a black card, but I was kind of imagining, okay, what if you could actually change the gradient of this, randomize this, and drag in real time to actually manipulate this? Whether it was a linear gradient or a radial gradient, actually being able to do this and just like test this out and just like have fun with it. Also played around with shaders, which I think is really fun. Imported some animation libraries, just playing around with just like different patterns here. Again, super fun just to see all of these different ways. And then I made this one for Halloween, this little ghost fragment shader, inspired by something that another designer on our team, Yinan, made last year. But Jen, just having fun. I think where it gets really powerful too is thinking about how you could create custom cards for our customers, which vary across all kinds of sectors and different categories. So imagining here like this little Notion card. What if you could just play around with like the different aspect ratio? I actually love this one the most, where it's like really zoomed in and you get that little wink. I think it's super cute. But it's actually quite simple. You just have the ability to paste any image address in here or video address, and it works right away. So what I did was prototype a bunch of different ones for our customers, like Glossier, GlassPass, Studs, but my favorite one is definitely Notions. Cool. And then the last prototype that I'll show, I'll go into the web repo. So again, Sakura is great because it lets you get closer to the design system and prototype with higher fidelity. But when you want something where you're pulling in real data and to get as close to production as possible, this is where actually like pulling in the web repo and prototyping here has been really fun. This is where, again, I learned to, I guess, actually ship to production, which is crazy because if you go back to the beginning of my presentation, like I wasn't interested in coding at all before this year. And then after George's post and trying out Cursor, I feel like it was this big unlock of, okay, I can use this tool to really think through things like type and fix little type things or layout things, and then full feature sets and continue to expand on that. And so the example I'll show here is that right now we have, this is our QA environment where you can create this program, which is basically like a bucket of funds for a specific purpose. And I was testing out, so for instance, when you click into something like this, there's like a template, you can customize the template. This is like all real now. And I wanted to just test out a different layout, so different components. And I tried out a bunch of different styles, but I wanted to just like feel it out and with real data. Because they're connected to templates and each of these has like real data attached, it'd be so hard to do this in Figma. So I just wanted to build this directly in the web repo, which has all of the custom fields and the custom forms, etc. So yeah, it's just been really fun to just figure out the very different levels in which you can use Cursor, whether it's just like vibe coding something that looks kind of real just to get an idea out versus having something that is higher fidelity versus something that has actually real data pulled in. Cool. And so when I shipped my first PR, I was so nervous. I added a lot of disclaimers. Don't be alarmed. I just created my first PR. Updated some copy. Don't want to bug you, but I tried this out for myself. And my front-end engineer responded with this, which I thought was hilarious at the time. But in reality, he was super supportive. And all the engineers on our teams have been really supportive in helping us get it set up, as well as reviewing PRs, pair programming, helping with failed tests. It's just been a learning journey for all of us. Engineers are now writing product specs, product managers are prototyping, designers are shipping to production. The game has changed for all of us. And so I come back to this question, should designers code? And I think it's the wrong question to ask. I think it's more about, should we learn and adapt and evolve? And the answer is yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Up next, we have Jin from Notion. So if you want to give him a round of applause. He's starting a timer because we have deadline today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jin. I'm a designer at Notion. I am part of the AI search, enterprise, connectors. I just go where I'm needed. And today, I'm really excited to show you guys how we think and apply AI as part of our workflow. I'll just quickly take you through some of the things that we've built. So at Notion, we have this amazing designer called Brian Lovin. I'm sure you guys have heard of him. He built this thing called the Prototype Playground. What Prototype Playground is, it's just like in a local environment. You can also host it as well. It is an environment where you can riff off other people's work by just duplicating the project, or you can kind of start from a template and also kind of check out what other people have built. You can just simply clone this locally, and I've done so here. And if this is the local environment, what you're seeing here. But we've built some really cool stuff using the Prototype Playground, and I just want to quickly show you some of those examples. Why is it so zoomed out? Okay, so this is one of the first prototypes that Brian built. It is the chatbot comparison, where you can select a model and kind of understand how things interact between models. And this is really important because if you're calling different tools and making switching models depending on their strengths and weaknesses, you don't want the AI chat experience to be like seamless across how it's communicated in the product. You don't want to be like yo, I'm Jin, what up? And then it's like I've collated all your legal correspondence. You want that tone to be very consistent and natural sounding. Some of the other things that we've built is like an example of how you can apply chat and throw this around. So I'm not really used to the touchpad here, but you kind of like throw things around, and you can even just like do sidebar. And this is all kind of like live and interactive. Some of the other things is Andy Madrick, who's a designer as part of the monetization team. He built this really cool way of like testing different models we want to show in the product for the 2025 Make with Notion conference. So we've got some examples here. This was one variant, and this was another variant. Super simple. And you can see here that he would just simply take this directly to Crit and be like, hey, designers, what do you guys think? And we would provide feedback and say, this looks really great. And we can also further develop each of these and customize. These are all live input fields connected directly. And it doesn't have to be just for designers. Our PMs also leverage Cursor as well. MJ, my PM, big shout out. She was preparing a talk at Make with Notion, and she needed to prepare some slides. And she simply used Cursor to really build out some of her ideas, and this was good enough to really drive that initiative forward. This is another example of us sort of exploring some sort of center-aligned chat experiences. And for today's demo, what I want to show you guys is this thing I built, which is like a little animating thing. And you'll notice that it's moving and it's animating, it's doing its thing, and this is all going up and down. And what's kind of cool is that this is not an SVG animation. This is all live coded. And the benefit of keeping things live coded is that it's great for like internationalization. What I personally really love about Cursor and vibe coding is, as we work with different teams, different projects, each team has its own strengths and weaknesses. Some of the teams that I support don't really have like the front end resource that we would like to really have to push these kinds of like really delightful animations and moments. And so it's a really great opportunity for me to step in and be like, hey, I can really support the engineers to really bring about a great, delightful experience. And oftentimes, if we didn't have that, we would design something, it would be like a back and forth with the engineers to get the polish right. Because as you know, with like detailed illustrations like this, they need to be coded. Like pixel perfection and like refinement is like a very like, it's a craft, it's an art. It doesn't really translate from just showing an engineer the designs from Figma and being like, hey, can you build it? You do need to be quite closely involved just to ensure that the timing is right and the pixel accuracy is right. And so oftentimes things get descoped and we're not able to deliver the delightful experience that we want to deliver. But fortunately, with the introduction of like vibe coding, we managed to reduce our something that would have typically taken us 3 weeks down to like literally 45 minutes. And I've tested this. Like I've self-recorded, I timed myself, and I was like, holy shit! And now we can like deliver great stuff, and I can really help the engineers. And personally, I feel like incredibly empowered. So I want to just take you through. How much time do I have, Liz? All right, 5 minutes. All right, I'll go quick. So where did I start? Now, this is where my presentation starts. So I love acronyms. I always like to try to introduce new acronyms to the world and see if it catches. The first acronym is like pre-vibe fetching. You're thinking about the art direction. You're thinking about things from like a storyboard perspective. You want to understand like how things will sequence. And this is me just going around. It's like finding the raw artwork from various parts of Figma. And then it's about PVC, pre-vibe cleanup. This is about you want things to like translate well, right? So you want to clean your Figma up so that like things are grouped, things are named. You're using auto layouts to ensure things are like just. And then next stage is the first pass. So you'll see there down the bottom, that's the prompt that I used, literally. I connected Figma MCP to Cursor, and I said, hey, here's my Figma link. Can you translate this one-to-one to static code? And that is the result I got. You'll notice if I compare the original to the new, the colors aren't right, the icons aren't right, and that's because it was, Cursor on its first pass was using Tailwind's color tokens, which has different like hex values to us. And so I said, okay, it looks like you use Tailwind colors. Can you instead pull the hex values and apply them as custom arbitrary values? Tailwind's really great at this, and you see there, it's getting closer and closer to the final result. And then I have to kind of go in and include the correct icons and SVGs and just like tweak the spacing between elements. And I was pretty happy with the result. Similar to this one, a PVF looked like this. The first pass looked like this, missing icons. And then This is the manual adjustments. And what's really cool is when I actually asked Cursor to like recreate this, it knew that this content here was like relevant to Notion, but it actually turned these into be interactive tabs and actually updated this content to be relevant to like Gmail, Slack, Linear, and it just did that. I didn't have to like repopulate the content, which is kind of cool. And this is the final one. This is like what Joseph right there. He's part of the. He's a designer for the calendar team. He designed this little component. It was like animating and looked really great. But first pass looked like this. But this is pretty easy to like fix up and so I just want to like maybe how much time do I have? All right, let's go quick. I want to talk about how I prompt engineer. So this is kind of what I used to get things to animate. And what I want to focus on is kind of like, this is my personal flavor. I think everybody has their own flavor. This is mine. I want to sort of like identify the subject matter, the preferred technology, and then like the instruction. But you'll notice that there are like extra little words that are like grayed out. Why did I waste a token to add that? My personal reason for doing so is because there's like a pre-warmer thing. Pre-context confirmation, it makes sense. And the reason why I do that is because like I know it's like a waste of a token, right? Why am I doing this? But it's like, I don't know, there's something kind of fun about like the idea of like warming up the database somewhere in the ether, like kind of warming up. Use that single token to like warm things up. And I also have like a little like it's kind of like human language. There's like, you have to, some Cursor's really great like reading between the lines. And I say okay, because like, all right, we're ready to tackle some real tasks. If I say it makes sense, it says, that translates to, let me know if my instructions aren't clear, so we can clarify the requirement. And do you see X is really great because it really helps me to sort of target my changes. You don't want to be changing code across other people's prototypes and etc. When it comes to response, I do this. I always say thanks. I don't know why. I'm sure you guys do too. But I always just want to like show my gratitude. And I think that's because like, please don't kill us when you take over. But you'll notice that it's like a temperature, right? It goes down and there's like a little like a temperature aspect here. You'll see this looks great. It means this is aligned with my expectations. Please keep doing things in this style. If I say, can you simplify this? It means like, try again, your code can be further optimized. It's not really using the right technology or the right method. If I say no, I'm simply saying like, this is not great, this is not good enough. I'm unsubscribing. Cool, but I just want to finish off by saying, Cursor and vibe coding, this whole thing isn't really limited to like what we do at work. What I love doing is I have an idea, it's in my mind, and I want to test if it's actually feasible. I said to Cursor, hey, generate like 3 big circles, center align it, give it a conic gradient, rotate it slowly, and give it like a mixed blend of like difference. And it created this like crazy, crazy cool effect. And I'm like, and I did this because I want to test the browser GPU. I want to see how this performs. Because a lot of like the crazy ideas don't really like perform really well in the browser. And this I can take away now and create cool sites like this. And then I could be like, hey, generate like 100 boxes and just make it so that it's like you're using the container width and height to translate the X and Y variables to create this sort of like effect. It's a lot more smoother on my browser. It's not as janky it is, in the live preview. And what I can do with this now is do things like this. This is my portfolio, by the way. Well, not my actual portfolio, but it's the proof of concept. And then here, it's also really good at like learning about new technologies as well. I was like, hey, I heard good things about the Interact.js library. Can you tell me if this is a good library to use for for a thing like this where I can kind of like drag things around? Interact.js is like a draggable drag and drop library that's publicly, it's like open source. And that translates to something like this, where I can kind of like, So not only is it a great way to, add a cool piece to your portfolio, but these demos took me like 3 minutes each, which is amazing. And I really like it because it means that I can take away these concepts like this and this. And in the future, if I have an idea that I want to sort of test or bring to the table, I could be like, hey, this could be a great thing to really add extra effect. So I know coding, like Catherine was saying, it can be a little bit daunting. I'm quite fortunate enough to learn coding quite early on in my career. I was like, oh my God, I can do jQuery. I'm so smart now. I was part of that camp. But it is daunting because it looks scary, but it's let curiosity just drive you. Learn like a child. I have a 3-year-old, and I see how he learns to walk and jump, and I think it's, to him, it's not learning, it's play. And I think that's something that I would like to take away. But thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jen. And our last speaker, until we dive into the panel, is going to be Rio, head of design at Cursor. If you want to give him a round of applause.
Okay. Let's hope the demo god works today. So all of our builds for Cursor today had a big bug in it. And I tried to fix it back there. But I want to kind of show you Cursor 2.0, what's new, how it kind of changes the vibes of as a designer coming into code. This is how Cursor looked like before. It's almost like VS Code. You see the files on the left, you see some editors, you might not really care about the code. And then the chat thing is the tiny thing on the right. You don't really see it. It's not even shown by default. You have to figure out how to turn it on. But now we kind of have this. Cursor can start really simple, and it's almost like an agent first interface. You can just start by putting your prompt in and see what happens. And we also have now a built-in browser, so that you can basically interact with whatever that's running live. So I made this page just this weekend. We wanted to run a newspaper ad in the San Francisco Chronicles, and then my team was we need this cursor.com/future page, and there was none. And then I just had an idea we can kind of connect all the computing history all the way down to Cursor. And I built this. Took maybe 4 prompts. It was pretty easy. Fun looking for the old pictures. I tried to use Cursor to get the pictures. It couldn't, but we're gonna fix it. So let me show you something cool. Designers love this kind of stuff, right? I can just click here, and then, wait, oh shit, we need to fix the voice thing so that you can do voice here, but we also added a voice mode so you can vibe code with it if you want. I don't really like talking, so I'll just type, maybe, center align this, please. And see what happens. So this uses our, we now have our own model. It's probably the world's fastest and pretty smart model. It's really good at front end. It's almost equal to Sonnet, but it's 4 times faster, 2 times cheaper. Cool. My text is centered. Great. Now you can basically vibe code by pointing. Make this bigger, and then it will be bigger. Actually, let's just try this. Can you make everything bigger? And see what happens. So the cool thing with Cursor now is Cursor has gotten a lot more agentic. Your instructions don't have to be really precise for it to do stuff. Oh, cool, it's very big now. Great. So, you can do a lot of the front-endy stuff, making websites, doing your app, fixing little bugs, point at this thing. Padding's off. Fix it. Let me show you another thing, which is it's a bad example because it's really outdated now. But the idea is we built Cursor by using Cursor to build baby cursor that makes cursor, which is like, we already kind of see the pattern, like even at Ramp and Notion. The idea is when you want to just kind of ideate on the idea, say like on the UI or the UX and stuff, you might not want to run your like gigantic code base that takes like every, I don't know, like 30 seconds to refresh. Maybe you want to start fresh, but it feels like the thing you have. Maybe even better. Like it's almost like the ideal version of the thing you want to build. And then you just play there. So I created this thing called Baby Cursor. It is basically cursor, but not cursor. It has almost everything. I built like a Command K thing. There's like a, like editor. It works. It talks to the AI. I even have some, I guess we used to not have this, but now we do. So a lot of our ideas have already gotten made in here. For example, I was trying to play with some like multi-agent interactions. Say like I will translate this to Chinese, and then let's go. Then it will just do two. But it was like really, really easy to like prototype. And then it's almost like a lot of the ideas just trickle back to Cursor as we build them. And then the last thing is, so maybe I have this like little pet project called ReOS, where I just play with some random ideas and test the boundaries of what Cursor can do. So recently added this thing where, so I have an agent inside, and the agent can now make applets. So it can live make apps and then you can save it. I don't know what to do. Any like app ideas? Simple ones. Easy on Rio, please. Yes. Okay, that sounds really easy. So let's see. Oh no. Okay. Make an applet that tracks when I should water my plant. Please work. It's thinking, okay. It will work. We'll just wait for a little bit. But the idea is, I think, a lot of people say making stuff with AI, you kind of end up with slop. But, cool, it kind of works now. Okay. You can open this up. It's kind of ugly, isn't it? Remove the ugly boxes around and kill the header. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, thinking. Yeah, so the reason I built this was because I really wanted to show, like, as designers, we can kind of put our craft and focus on like the bits that the AI cannot do. Then you can make something really cool and kind of crazy. Okay, cool, saved. And then now you can kind of find this app. Oh, let me show you something cool. So the agent can now list out things in the file system. So open the plant tracker. Okay, it read the files. And it's going to open the plant tracker. Cool. Sorry, this was a little big like preamble, but I wanted to show you plan mode. The idea is sometimes you want to start something new or like a new feature, and you might not have like a lot of the details, or maybe you need to do some research on how do I make something in this code base that maybe you're not familiar with. With plan mode, what you can do is you just kind of put your idea in, and then the agent will be able to figure out all the details for you. So let's try, let's see what to do. Add a tool for the agent so that it can read applet files. Then it can make edits to them. And then once you put in your prompt, it's going to think and search for the right context. Yeah. So it's kind of reading a lot of the tool definitions that I have in the system, think about what to do next. And, okay, GPT-5 is a little slow, but it is really smart. And I think I really like using it for plans. But it thinks a lot. Cool. Okay, it did some research. Cool. That's the right files. Okay. You remember we did like a live demo with Codex when they launched? It was also really slow. So the group of people had to keep talking. da 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 da. Aha! Okay. So what's cool about plan mode is it will do its own research, sometimes for a long time, like what you just saw. And then it will come back with some questions and clarification. If you don't really know what is talking to you back, you can just let it go. But let's see what it did. Do you want 1, 2, or 2, 2? 1? No. Okay, just read. Edit. And then, okay. Full override, easier. I'll just say 2A, and then boom. It's gonna think a little bit. But after that, it will kind of generate like a spec for me. Almost like a full PRD where I can review. But it needs to think a little bit. See, it's thinking about all the edge cases you might not think. Cool. Aha! Beautiful. And the plan it does is like fully editable, almost like a Notion doc. You can review it, and once you're done, you can pick, say, like another model to build, and all you need to do is to hit build. You can also build it in the cloud if it takes more time, but I can just hit build here, and it will just go. So this is almost like what we have for Cursor 2.0. It's a lot more like centered on the agent. You can start simple. You don't have to look at code if you don't want to. You can use plan mode to help you kind of ideate and iterate with the agent. And then once it's done, there's like this really nice new reviewer that Austin built. So you can learn how the code works if you want. That's it.
Thank you so much, Rio. So we're gonna do like a quick, it might be really awkward transition where we like move these chairs out and we're gonna transition to panel. So give us like a few minutes and we will be right back. Hey, hi everyone. We're ready to get started with the panel. These chairs are actually really comfortable. I was a little intimidated when I first saw these chairs because they're so large, but it's pretty fun to be up here. I printed out all my questions and put them in this notebook so I seem more official, but so I don't look at my phone. Anyway, thank you so much, all of you all, for sharing those really awesome demos. I know people here are all really, really excited about how design might be changing and what things might look like. And so I have some questions prepared, but then we'll have some time for everyone to also kind of ask some of their questions as well. So my first question for any of you is, so using AI tools, like I said, is still fairly unexplored for many design teams. I got a lot of emails from people where they're like, I don't even know what this looks like. And so there aren't very many best practices yet. And so we're kind of all figuring it out together. I'm curious how using AI has changed your design process and how you collaborate with engineers and product. Do you want me to call on you, or do you want to speak when you want to? Okay. Jin will start then.
Sorry, can you repeat the question just one more time?
Yeah, no problem. So how has using AI changed your design process and how you work with engineers and product?
Yeah, similar to kind of what I was saying earlier, I'm able to support more, especially during the end phases of the polish. Where kind of that, because if I'm working with engineers on the West Coast and we're on the East Coast, having to do this back and forth thing just to get one pixel right is a real pain. That has been quite transformative for me personally. Also, like I was kind of showing you earlier, it's a really great way to sort of just test an idea, just because if you're prototyping things in Figma, you are quite a little bit limited. Seeing things actually move things around and you can kind of interact with things in the browser natively is a really great way to sort of get that real life feel.
I think for me, it's definitely created this sense of empathy and a shared language with engineering, where what we have in Figma doesn't always translate exactly. There's obviously, the right side panel where you can choose the different attributes of a component, but it's not exactly always one-to-one. And so I think the biggest unlock for me is just with learning how to code, I'm actually able to speak the language of an engineer on my team. So for instance, it's not adjust the spacing here by 4 pixels. It's can you try adjusting the margin bottom to this, or this specific property, or reu pad is something that I always do, or can you use this component, or try out this component, rather than saying it doesn't feel exactly right. It's a little ambiguous. It's much more concrete, and I feel that has just strengthened our relationship and just makes it a lot more easy to communicate and get things across the line much faster. And it's just fun. I feel it's a fun starting point where I just open Cursor, and now instead of saying, try this design, it's okay, use these components from the library. And I always have the design systems library just the web hosted one side by side, and I actually have that as a starting point instead of Figma now. It's okay, these are the components, this is how I would apply them. It's much more tactical and concrete than just vibes, I guess.
Nice. Yeah, I think the biggest difference is it's we all make software and code is our material, and we kind of lost it for a while as designers. When people started making software, maybe in the early, 70s, 80s, people didn't, think of themselves as, I'm a software designer, I'm a software engineer. It was the whole thing. And people wrote code. That was their art. They wrote code that, drew stuff on the screen as pixels. And then we kind of lost it. We kind of started splitting our discipline into roles, and every single role uses their own tool, and then tools don't talk to each other, and then the people don't really talk to each other, or rather they talk to each other through Slack, through meetings, through docs. It is not code. It is not the real thing. We keep thinking of making things, but we're not making things. And this whole thing changes everything. It's we as, thinkers of software, makers of software, designers, we get back to our material. We get to code. We get to play, even though maybe you don't know how to code yet. We just flip the order. It's you used to paint in your little Figma artboard or multiple in 2D space. You paint, you paint, you paint, you wait, you wait, you wait. Versus now it's it's like sculpting. You just get a clump of stuff. It might be shit. It might be bad when you first start. But as you keep doing it, you poke at different parts of it. You want, this part should be better. This part already exists. kind of just mention the components that exist, because AI is so good at piecing together things like pattern matching and composing. AI really sucks at the things you all are good at. It's like all the details that we care about, that we see, that our engineers don't even see. Like the AI can't see that yet. But like now is the time to just start building. You don't have to think anymore. Or like you're thinking as you make, you're not just thinking.
Thanks. That's a great transition into my next question, actually. So I think a lot of people here haven't like really started building yet with AI tools, and I think these three teams here really showcase how like AI forward a team can be. And so I'm curious, like how you would recommend getting started if you're on a team that might not be using Cursor yet, using Cloud Code, et cetera.
Ask your engineer friends or like IT people to give you access to the code base. If they don't, you nag them. And if they still don't, you can still start. Say like from making prototypes. Like I actually don't care if you start in V0 lovable bold. I don't care. But start playing. Because what you're doing is almost like, you know, at some point you will have so much fun that you think, oh shit, I need to do more. Then you come to Cursor.
Yeah, for us, I would say that even though Cursor is like one of the more involved tools that our team has invested in, everyone is trying a bunch of different ones. I kind of mentioned this during my presentation as far as Figma Make, Magic Patterns, V0. There's so many out there. It's just trying one of them and forming an opinion and seeing how you get to the end result you want in either the fastest way or the best way, whatever that means for you and whatever it is like that you're trying to achieve. Cursor is just one of many tools. I think it's the most powerful. I really like it because it just brings you to that highest fidelity. But again, like the setup can be a little more involved. And if you are apprehensive on getting started, there's other tools where you can just, you know, throw it straight into the prompt. To be fair, with Cursor 2.0, it seems like
We'll fix it.
Yeah, exactly. I think the barrier to entry is getting lower and lower. I think it just means just starting with something. It doesn't have to be something you're working on for work's sake. It could just be for play. Putting together like a little music player. I think that's something T-Shape built as well. And I know that you, I think, led a tutorial on that. It's just fun. Anything you can think of, whether it's an applet for watering your plants. Anything that you want to solve, just try throwing it in one of these tools and just see what comes out.
Yeah, I really love that slide about should designers code? No, we should play, we should learn. I love that because, I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that, by the way. I love it because I think the goal is not whether you should be vibe coding or not. Like the word vibe coding, I don't even know why we use it so often. It's like a funny word. The goal isn't about whether you should be vibe coding or not. The goal is like, what can I produce that is of value to my team so that they can win, and what is something that of value that I can bring really high def, really great experiences to the end user. Like when you kind of like looking things from that lens, whether it's vibe code, whether it's like voice code, or whether it's like whatever it may be in the future, it doesn't really matter, right? It could be maybe like, let's say for instance, like vibe coding is actually less effective and less efficient than doing things manually in Figma. But like it doesn't really matter whether it's vibe coding or manual, right? At the end, what you're trying to achieve, the goal you're trying to achieve is like just building really great experiences that really mean something to the end user. And I think it's really important to sort of just like focus on that and just do whatever is required to really accomplish that. And I think that's kind of the mindset that we have at Notion. I think what's really great about Notion is that everybody is quite code native. Even if you're, and what I love about learning to code is that you kind of like, it's not just about being able to do things in code. You actually also learn how to think about how to break things down, like break down problems, and you oftentimes it teaches you how to think, and I think that's really important. And oftentimes, like after a while, you realize that things there's like it's all the same. In Figma you have like variants. In React, you have props. Like these things, like these concepts, these ideas translate, and the medium is just different. But that's just arbitrary, in my opinion. Yeah.
Thanks. Speaking of like, I don't have a good transition for this, so I'm just going to dive into it actually. Never mind. So we saw a lot of like really cool demos here where you were like vibe coding things, but do you still do anything like by hand? Is there something that you feel like you're still like way better at doing or that you prefer doing by yourself without the help of AI?
Yeah, I love to code. I think it's like a really good way to like practice, and it's a really good way to sort of like, think about how to break things down into like steps. So I do try to sort of code myself because I do want things to be like opinionated and structured a certain way. Obviously, like you have to kind of like still do a lot of manual adjustments to ensure things are like, like rendering correctly here and there. But I think I think it's a dance. It's a dance, and that dance depends on the type of project you're working on. If it's a lot more complex, you may be required to intervene a little bit more. So kind of my answer would be it depends. It's a boring answer, but it's the honest truth.
I still love prototyping in Figma. I honestly prefer it just because it's just more fine tuning that I'm just used to, and I'm faster at it. I think I've spent a lot of my career actually getting like really good at it, and like the magic and the wizardry behind Smart Animate. I think you can get away with a lot of just like really fun, novel interactions, and I don't think you need to throw it into like a vibe-coded prototype. I still have fun making those things. I think maybe because my background is more in like film and just like post-production, where I was using After Effects and Premiere and all those things. I still prefer that over like actually like throwing it in a tool. I think you can, but I think maybe I just enjoy it, like actually seeing like just like playing around with the motion curves and like the all of like the timing and all of that. Like you could totally do it like typing it out, but it's just fun to, I don't know, actually do it in Figma still.
Nice. Yeah, I think for designers is really focusing on what we're good at. Say the visuals, the colors, typography, spacing, how things feel cohesive together. It's like the vision, how you see things could be. Like vibe coding only gets you the most immediate clump, but then you need to know where to go. Like, is it this way or that way? And I think a lot of our like the way we think and the way we work kind of changes, almost like completely flipping the orders. Say for us at Cursor, we only have like 4 designers, including myself. We have a really big team now. Teams has been growing. People are really good engineers. They make a lot of stuff. And like a lot of our jobs almost become like, we need to help people like how to piece things back together. We need to help people like de-slop. Like a lot of us, like maybe, the engineer just takes a Figma mock and then throw it to the agent, kind of like what you just saw. But then it still won't get all the little details in your mocks where like you want this easing curve to be exactly this value with like 0.2 like seconds. Like the AI won't know what that is, or the engineers won't know what that is. And then you can kind of help people. It's like, I call it like you're kind of making really good bricks that can fit together again, either by the agent or by your engineers. So once the brick side of things are done, then the most interesting part comes in, because you will have so much free time to think about like crazier ideas. Then say, I need to fix this padding. I need to like fix all these quirks. Where you are also really good at that, so you can do that really fast, even like manually. Yeah, focus on what you're good at. and then let the agent do the rest, and then just ask another question, one more question, learn how it works, and it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the bit about like asking a question. I feel like half the time when I'm working with these agents, I'm just asking it questions. I'm like, what are things that you think about right now? Or like, what do you think I should do? And I feel like that's like a really fun way to learn. So I have one more question before we dive into a couple questions from the audience. So how do you see like tools like Cursor, Claude Code, stuff like this, like evolving in the future, especially for designers?
I can go first. I think we live in a world right now where vibe coding is very like design centric. It's a very designer empowering tool. The world that I want to live in is to break away from that barrier of it just being a designer's thing, and being in a world where like designers and engineers could both work very collaboratively together, so that you are using live production components, and anything that designers produce in the vibe coding land can be documented and accessible and viewable. So imagine like, you guys know Storybook.js, right? Yeah, imagine like Storybook.js with like elements of like CodePen for community building, all built natively as like an extension in Cursor that is, installable by an engineer, so that we're all speaking the same language, we're all building a design system together, and vibe coded components and production components are like one-to-one and aligned. And I think that's kind of like, maybe it's idealistic, maybe it's not. Don't steal that idea. But yeah.
I think we're starting to see it a bit at Ramp already, where these tools are showing up in the places that we work. That's not just the tool themselves. Like, we have the ability to add cursor within Slack, and anyone can do that. It's not just a designer, it's not just an engineer. We can make changes directly in the place that we're always at and communicating. If someone posts a bug, we can just say, add cursor, can you fix this? And so I think it's gonna be a little bit more of that, where it's showing up in the places we already are. At least that's the hope. I'd love a world in which we can just call and fetch any of these things we need immediately. Like, don't have to open another app or like download this, download that. It's just that it's like right there with you. And again, similar to what Jen said, that gives everyone the responsibility. Everyone becomes a builder. It's not just designer, engineer, PM. As I mentioned in the talk, like, everyone has a shared language and everyone has shared responsibility. People are writing, like, a lot of people are taking on content. It's not just a content designer's job. It's like really dissolving these silos that we've created. And I think the tools as well, there's going to be a little bit more of that just disillusion, and having just like a single way to kind of like do all of this in the places you need to.
Nice, beautiful. So. Yeah, my visions for Cursor, that's maybe slightly different from, say, Claude Code, where all the terminal agents is. Like, I want Cursor to fit you, or anyone who's like making software. Some of us might be like, I don't know, thinking and planning. Maybe we used to like do stuff in like Google Doc. Some of us, are stuck in Jira tickets all day, and they're so sad. Some of us really love manipulating stuff in 2D space, and then we're thinking in like frames and artboards and layouts. Maybe that's like the first, how we get in, like our primary mode of interaction. Like, as software builders are very different. Even like for engineers, some of them like are just doing crazy shit on the keyboard, like using Vim mode. We have a friend, his name is Ian. I watched him code the first time. I was like, oh, what the hell are you doing? Like, where I'm just like a button clicker. And I'm fine with that. And I think the idea is you want to build like one system that almost has everything, but it feels simple to every single person that comes in. As a visual thinker, maybe I just see like the the canvas that I'm used to, but as I'm doing that, I'm writing code. Or maybe it's like the PMs coming in, they're like more like a linear thinker in like words. As they do that, they can also write code. Then all the things that are there is like, how do you kind of decompose all of these things? How do you fit them better together? How do you like customize this thing so that everyone can find their place? And as you do that, you start breaking the barriers between tools and people. When you work together, people can just interact with the agent and the code base and your friends in the way that you prefer, most natural in flow. But at the same time, you are not interacting with something that's like an artifact or something weird. It's not like a .fig file. It's not like a document. It is the code. And that's what's cool, I think. And then that's what the terminal people can't really do. Yeah. I'm still like a believer in GUI. Though I think, really up to the user. If they prefer being in the terminal all the time, that's fine too.
Awesome. We're going to transition into some questions from the audience. I think we only have time for like 2. So if anyone has a question, I'm going to give it to you because you're right here.
Pays to sit in the front row, doesn't it? Thanks for the talks, and thank you for sharing your thoughts. One thing that I found on my team that's been a barrier to folks using things like Cursor especially is getting the dev environment set up. It has taken me way too many hours, and I used to be an engineer before, and several of my folks have taken like literally days to get it set up. And I was really inspired by the baby cursor thing that you showed, Rio, and would love to hear from basically any of y'all, like what have you found to be really helpful to get your teams sped up and prototyping and making things directly in Cursor?
There's like 2 ways. One is spin up your own little like prototyping environment. Ideally, it's like you can reuse it, not just for one prototype, but it's almost like kind of like what say Jen showed, where there is like a shared set of components, some templates. People can kind of just like start, and what they do is they just kind of make their own copy, maybe like make a new route, and then they can start playing there. It's more self-contained. It will be easier for, say, like things to run. And then for those cases, or most cases, you can actually just ask the agent to help you run the thing for you. Like if you don't know how it works, you can ask it to like, run this server, thanks. And then it'll probably do it for you. If the setup is not that complex. If the setup is really complex, like get your engineering team to really help you. Make better documentations. It will be like useful for them too. And all you need to do is to kind of just follow the instructions. Maybe copy paste it to the agent and see what happens. Yeah, start simple and get your engineers to help.
I think having a design engineer on our team has been a saving grace. Her name is Amber. I mentioned her in the presentation. But after our offsite, we went upstate and then came back to this office, and we just had like a session where all of us sat in the cafeteria, and she helped us figure out how to set everything up. All you need is like a couple hours together in person, everyone saying, okay, like, is this working for you? No. Is this working for you? Like for me, I just could not get it to work. And then we found out there were some IT issues, but she helped us to debug it in person. I think even just like having one person on your team who really straddles the line between design and engineering and understands both sides can help really codify and support a lot of these different workflows. Like the guides I mentioned where she created these onboarding guides for getting started with Cursor and then a sandbox environment. All of that was her. And teaching us in like a one-on-one or like many persons on one tutorial. Yeah, I think it just made all the difference. I think you just need to sit down and do it together, and having that critical mass of like all these people doing it at the same time rather than expecting someone to do it on their own, which is hard. You know, you have to make time for it, but like actually carving out that time as a group, I think can make all the difference.
Yeah. I asked Brian today, like, how long it took him to build that prototype playground, and he said 3 days. It took him 3 days. Like, I think you can go really far just having, like, Astro is like a really great, I think, like a lightweight solution to just get something really quick up and running. I think having Astro set up, having Tailwind variables set up to match your Figma tokens, and I love personally like Alpine JS. You don't have to, like, it's a much more lightweight version of like React, and it's really easy to learn. It gets you up and running with like interactivity drop downs, and it's also just, yeah, it's probably like the best, most lightweight stack that I would personally recommend.
Thanks for that question. We have time for one more question. So if you have a really good question, oh no, this is kind of stressing me out. I'm gonna go with one of these two in the middle. Yeah.
Thank you. I want to ask a question about when vibe coding, how do you preserve iterations? So for more context, we use Cursor in our company, and how we do it is I will draft a PR and then just push it, and then it's gone after the engineer deal with it. And then we'll have iterations, the process go in, and then I don't remember, or like there's no quick way for me to document it. I don't know if it's a habit of designer just want to keep everything in a good, neat file, but just wondering if there's other process will help you do similar things.
I teach designers how to use AI tools, and I actually always have people like create a FigJam file and take screenshots every time they prompt, and then you can kind of save like a history of all your things. It's a pretty like non-scalable way of doing it, but I think it's really cool to look back at your entire process in that way, and it's really easy to set up. Awesome. Well, that's all we have time for today. I wish we could stay here and ask questions all night long, but let's give another round of applause for our amazing panelists. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. We have to be out of this area around 8:15, so feel free to hang out for a little bit longer, come up and ask us any questions. But again, thank you so much for coming. Hope you had a great time.
Thanks so much.